Good evening, Chicago. What a game yesterday from your Chicago Bears, and far, far, far more importantly, from number one, Justin Fields. We have found him. He is the one. For the first time in my life, and probably for a lot of people's lives, we can say the Bears have a franchise quarterback. Oh my goodness. He broke a team record yesterday. He broke a league record yesterday. He set personal highs in multiple categories. We have so much from that game yesterday to break down. Yeah, they lost. I really don't care. Justin Fields is the man. We will be discussing that. We'll also be talking about the trade deadline deals that Ryan Poles made. We didn't get a chance to break down some of those since we had our last show. And then, when we're finally done talking football, the Bulls are playing a home game out at the United Center tonight. We will break all that down, plus more. This is Chi-Town Weekly, everybody. Buckle up. This one's gonna be fun. And hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome in to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I am your host, Adam Karnick. Thank you for being with me here tonight for episode 110 here of Chi-Town Weekly. And I'm going to set the stage right up front here. This one is going to be a little bit different from episodes past. I know in past episodes, I always try when I do the show to stay as level-headed as I can and try to be informed and try to inform both sides of something. And try to keep somewhat of an even keel on both sides. Sometimes I'm more successful on it than others. I'm not going to at all be like that tonight. I know I am going to be geeking out, and it's going to be very difficult to hold it back. So tonight, I'm really not going to try very hard. This is going to be a different kind of episode. So just warning everybody up front, or hey, if you find that's your cup of tea, let me know, and we'll see about trying to get some more of that into the show, into future shows. Tonight is going to be a little bit different because he's arrived. He has arrived, and it is going to be so much fun to break down the game and really the last month that Justin Fields has been putting together, because he is exploding in front of our very eyes, and it's amazing to watch. Of course, before we get too much further, we do need to take care of some business. So we will get all that squared away first, but then just kind of buckle up. It's gonna be a fun, crazy roller coaster of a show tonight. And so, of course, a quick note here. And of course, we do need to then acknowledge our sponsor read for the night. Here at IE Sports Radio, of course, we've been around for the last 8 years now. IE Sports Radio has been around, and we continue to bring you the best that we certainly can. We bring you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. All the while, we continue to be by the fans, for the fans. With your help, we're ready to take the next step. When you go to our website, iesportsradio.com, you'll see our Patreon link with 5 different tiers. The first one starts at just $5 a month. This donation gets you a shout out on all of our shows. Thank you, Bay Area Raised, Emlos Great, Key to the Gate, and Anonymous for supporting us on Patreon. Higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to our podcasting university, and even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment. Thank you all very much for continuing to make IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. And ways that you can interact, of course, with the station, just search IE Sports Radio. That finds you on Twitter, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram. IE Sports Radio. We're right there for you. This show is available for you on Twitter. At IESRC is how you can interact with the show. I try to keep things moving on there, updates on games and stories, things of the like there. And then you can also follow me on Twitter. I am at Adam_Karnick. And if you are listening live tonight here on Monday night on the Spreaker.com app, first of all, welcome on in. Enter into the chat room. I see Mike Pat is there already. Good evening, Mike. Hop on into the chat. We can interact that way. We have some fun. We bounce back and forth. You can throw things at me. I throw them back at you. We have a good time there. At the same time, if you're listening later on as a podcast, whether it's on Spreaker or iHeartRadio or Spotify, any of the other platforms, or if you just want to be sitting back here on this Monday evening and just listen to me, thank you for being here. I am here for you in whatever way makes you most comfortable. So let's have some fun. Ladies and gentlemen, we have found him. We have found a franchise quarterback. It has taken my entire life. It has taken my uncle's entire life. It has taken a lot of Bears fans their entire life. But we have found him. We have a franchise quarterback. Justin Fields just continues to get better every single week. And that culminated in that game yesterday where he set personal highs in touchdown passes and touchdowns. He set a team record for longest touchdown run by a quarterback in franchise history. He set a league record for most rushing yards by a quarterback in a regular season game. 178 yards. He accounted for 301 yards in yesterday's game. The team only accounted for 77 outside of Justin Fields. We have a franchise quarterback. I'll admit I was nervous at the beginning of the season, those first few weeks of the year where it just looked like it wasn't working. And I was thinking, oh no, do we have to go through this again? But no, the last 3 weeks of Justin Fields, he is absolutely evolving and exploding in front of our eyes and making it work. And he's doing it with the talent around him, or really the lack of talent around him. You look at the guys that the Bears currently have as weapons. They don't have a number one wide receiver. I do like the trade for Chase Claypool. We'll get into that later on in the show. I do like the trade for Claypool. But I don't know that Claypool is necessarily a number one. You know, if you've listened to me before tonight, that I don't think Mooney is a number one. Beyond that, they've got just guys at the wide receiver position. Equimenius St. Brown, he's a guy. Byron Pringle, he's a guy. Dante Pettis, he's a punt returner that plays wide receiver from time to time. Cole Kmet's a fine secondary or tertiary option. A guy that when you get into hey, this is a team and an offense that's ready to go win a title, win a championship, he'd be he's a decent piece to have, but not somebody you're going to focus your passing attack around. David Montgomery, I'm not sure David Montgomery's here past this season. You look at how his usage has dropped over the last month. I don't know that Montgomery's back after this year. Khalil Herbert is a fine runner. Obviously, he's got to work on other elements of his game. Punt blocking, pass blocking. He's a fine piece. That offensive line, I think they have Tevin Jenkins, and that's really it. The other four guys along the line, you need to look at upgrading. And yet Fields is still putting out these numbers, just willing this offense to put up points. The first 6 weeks of the season, the Bears put up 94 points. They put up 94 points in their last 3 games. Everything that we thought we were getting when Ryan Pace traded up to get Justin Fields is starting to pay off. The passing yards aren't there yet. Okay, yeah, he only threw for 123 yards yesterday. That's because he ran for 178. You can't. You can only run so many plays in a football game. And if the guys aren't open, or if the offensive line isn't able to block, but the quarterback's still able to be effective, you've got a weapon. You know, possibly the most telling moment of that game yesterday was when the Dolphins head coach, obviously tongue-in-cheek, looked Justin Fields square in the face and told him, "Stop it," after he had just scrambled for yet another first down. He just hollered at him, "Stop it. You know, we don't have an answer for you." When's the last time we could say that about any Bears offensive player, let alone the quarterback? We have somebody that defenses don't have an answer for. That we have a weapon that defensive coordinators have to game plan for specifically. How do you stop this guy? And not only do we have one, we've got one at the most important position. You know, Alshon Jeffrey was a great wide receiver, but you could let him catch 20 passes and 3 touchdowns, and the other team would still win. Brandon Marshall's probably the closest we've had to this in the last decade. But even him, you could get under his skin and get him to lose his concentration. That's not happening with Fields. Whatever's being thrown at him, he's starting to adjust and adapt and move on and improvise and make these great, amazing, terrific plays. It's spectacular to watch. Yeah, they lost. Is it frustrating? Yeah, a little bit that they lost. Yeah, you'd like for the defense to be able to stop somebody, force a punt before the 2-minute warning. That would be nice. The Dolphins punted one time yesterday. It was like with 2.5 minutes to go in the game. It'd be nice if they could force a punt sometime before then. Or, okay, you haven't forced a punt. Oh, that's because you've taken the ball away 5 times. That would be acceptable too. To just, we haven't forced a punt because we just, Eddie Jackson just keeps intercepting the ball. Jalen Johnson's punched it out 5 times. That's perfectly acceptable too. But get some stops, for crying out loud. So, yeah, it's a little frustrating that they lost the game. And it's a little frustrating that EQ had that pass hit him in the hands on 4th and 10, and he was 13 yards downfield. And Justin Fields scrambling to his right on the run, off balance, throws the perfect pass and hits him in the hands. The only thing that could have made it better would have been had Fields literally run down those 13 yards and handed him the ball. It's the only way it could have been easier for Brown. And he dropped it. So, yeah, that's a little frustrating. And, yeah, it's a lot frustrating that the refs missed that Chase Claypool got tackled at the Miami 25-yard line and didn't throw a defensive pass interference flag. Yeah, that's frustrating. But we knew that this was going to be a season where the Bears weren't going to win very many games. That it was just going to be, just keep us in it somehow. And not only are the Bears staying in it, they've got chances to win these games at the end. I mean, if Justin Fields had a receiver that could just catch, the Bears are 5-4 right now instead of 3-6. If Darnell Mooney can just catch that pass against Washington, if EQ St. Brown can just catch that pass yesterday, the Bears are 5-4. So, yeah, it's frustrating that ultimately it does go into the loss column. That's the next thing is not only Fields has these games, but they actually start winning some of these games. That would be nice too. But we're simply seeing the maturation and the arrival of a franchise quarterback, and it feels amazing. And then the cherry on top of it all, the Packers are exploding on themselves into a fiery, destructive nuclear bomb. The Packers have lost 5 in a row. So while the Bears are sitting here at 3-6, and we feel like the arrow's pointed nowhere but up, the Packers are sitting at 3-6, and they're ready to fire everybody. It's glorious. It's wonderful. We're going to get into it a little bit more here in just a second, but I wanted to kind of point out an illustration here. Eric Lambert wrote a piece for Sports Mockery. I believe it was earlier today that it came out, that pointed out the leadership that we're seeing from Justin Fields. Not just the obviously the highlight reel plays, the touchdown pass to Mooney or the 61-yard touchdown run, or the other highlight reels that we're seeing, but he pointed out a couple of plays that displayed his leadership. And that's something else entirely. I'm pulling up the story right now because I want to make sure that I want to make sure that I'm getting this right. The two plays that he pointed out for his leadership. First quarter, Fields, the play called for a quick swing out to Chase Claypool. Fields executes it properly, gets the pass off. Claypool drops it. And Lambert even points out some quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers, would get frustrated seeing that and look elsewhere on the next play. Instead, on the very next play, Fields goes right back to Claypool. Claypool makes the catch, gets 12 yards for the first down. Then the other is that play that I brought up just a minute ago with Equiminius St. Brown. So I've already described the play of what happened. Soon as the play is over, Fields sat down with EQ and they talked it over, and Fields patted him on the back. He's being a leader. He's not only turning into a great football player, he's turning into a terrific leader. Somebody that the other guys on that offense want to fight for. The offensive line's going to block just a little bit harder. The receivers are going to work just a little bit more to get open for this guy. Compare that with what we see all the time from Aaron Rodgers. Now, I should caveat, Aaron Rodgers, he's a 15-year NFL vet. He's a multi-league MVP. He's won a championship ring. He has earned the right to look at a receiver and say, hey, I don't have time to make you better. You need to make yourself better. I'm here to win a title. He's earned that right. Justin hasn't earned that right yet. But who would you rather play for? The guy that's going to have your back when you make a mistake and going to help you move past it so it doesn't happen again? Or do you want to play for the guy that's, when a mistake happens, he throws his hands down, looks up to the heavens, and you can see him go, why me? Every time something bad every time something goes wrong. You want to know why things are going bad in Green Bay? It starts with number 12. You want to know why the arrow's pointing up in Chicago? It's because of number 1. It starts with the quarterback. And the Bears have found themselves one. And oh my gosh, does it feel good. We're going to take a quick break. Somebody else that's had himself a busy week was Ryan Poles. 2 big trades since we last talked, right before the trade deadline last Tuesday. I want to talk about the NFL trade deadline a little bit. I know it was a week ago, but this is our first chance to talk about it since it's happened. So we're going to talk Ryan Poles and his job during the NFL trade deadline. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Some say that Indiana is just a flyover state. Flatlands and cornfields, barns and country roads. What if I told you Indiana is the crossroads of America? What if I told you in all other states, basketball is just basketball? In Indiana, basketball is life. Crowded high school basketball gyms on a Friday night, and every barn with a basketball rim and a frayed, worn-out net. If you're interested in the heartbeat of America, and if you're interested in sports, if you have Hoosier running through your veins, the Crossroads Pod with Aaron X is made for you. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Each and every week, the Crossroad Pod covers all of Indiana sports. The pride of the horseshoe of the Indianapolis Colts. The blue-collar gold swagger of the Indiana Pacers. The relentless pursuit of the sixth banner for the Indiana Hoosiers. The swing of the hammer of the Purdue Boilermakers. The swoop of the Cardinals of Ball State. The summoning of the echoes of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. The growl of the Bulldogs of Butler. The intensity of an Indiana fever. The chop of the Indianapolis Indians. At the Crossroads Pod, if it is Indiana, we've got you covered. More than cornfields, more than country back roads. The Crossroads of America. Join me, Aaron X, every week. It's nothing but net.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey, what's up, sports fans? You're looking for a different type of sports talk show, something you haven't heard before? You got to check out the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday on 2 Live Stews Radio, 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Sports talk at its finest. Always have great guests, playing some good hip-hop. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to tune in to the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris, the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here, everybody. I am your host, Adam Karnick. So we gushed over Justin Fields there in the first segment of the show. But there's been lots of other Bears stuff that we needed to discuss since last we talked, last Monday night. Of course, last Tuesday was the NFL trade deadline. And Ryan Poles was active. I mean, the league was active. This was the most active trade deadline that we have seen in probably NFL history. If I remember it correctly, there were 10 trades that occurred last Tuesday. The previous record in the NFL for a trade deadline for most deals that day was 5. So this was a crazy busy trade deadline. You know, we've talked in the past a little bit about why the NFL trade deadline isn't as busy as, say, like the MLB trade. I mean, as far as trade deadlines go, MLB is the king at trade deadlines, where, I mean, you have rosters get gutted and you have entire position groups, you know, whole bullpens getting moved or shuffled in or moved around, and, you know, multiple starting pitchers winding up on a new team. And, you know, MLB's got it down. MLB's got it down for the drama and the excitement and the just, oh man, you want to clue into it as a sports fan. That's, the NFL wants more of that. It's harder to do in the NFL. The salary cap just inherently makes it harder to do. Also, just the nature of football makes it harder to do. But teams are starting to buy into it. The general managers and coaches are starting to buy into the idea that, hey, you can be active in season with trades and it can work. You know, we know it'll get really crazy when, you know, starting quarterbacks start getting shipped around, and that's when you know it'll start getting crazy. But until then, you know, they're warming into it. And 10 deals on Tuesday, that's a lot for the league. Ryan Poles, well, he was 2 of them. The first one was jarring, but not completely, and I wrote about this for Stadium Rant. I tweeted out the link to it. I'll tweet out the link again tonight for an article I wrote last week about the trade deadline with Ryan Poles. And Poles made 2 moves that, at first glance, they look to be at odds with one another. Because typically in a trade deadline, you're either a seller or you're a buyer. You know, if you're a seller, you're recognizing the season isn't going the way we thought. We're going to need to, we have some massive problems that need to be addressed, and we're not going to be able to address them adequately in season with something that's going to make a difference for this season. But we've got some guys that, for one reason or another, don't factor into our future plans, but we can move them and get something in return that will help our future. Or you're buying. You're saying, hey, we've got a chance at winning the title right dang now. We can we've got a little bit of a hole here. We can go borrow from the bank of tomorrow to help the team today and go win a title. You know, you're one or the other. Seldom are you both. And Ryan Poles was both at the trade deadline. He was a seller and a buyer. And we'll start with the sell. Roquan Smith. It was a sit-up-and-take-notice trade. At the same time, it was expected. And Roquan and Ryan Poles didn't see eye to eye in the offseason. Smith demanded a trade, did not get one before the season started. Poles ultimately decided that Roquan was too far away. We talked about that last week, how the Bears aren't better with Roquan Smith being gone. But then he acquired Chase Claypool. Spent a second-round pick, the Bears' own second-round pick, not the pick that they got from Baltimore for Roquan Smith, but their own second-round pick next year, which is almost certainly going to be a higher pick. You know, as it sits right now, it would be pick number 39 overall, whereas the Baltimore pick is going to be, I'd honestly have to look. I don't know off the top of my head, but it's certainly going to be further down the road. You know, you're talking, it's probably in the 50s. Mike, if you're still listening, if you want to check that out for me, what Baltimore's second-round pick right now would be, the one that got traded to the Bears, to get Chase Claypool. And at first it's like, well, wait a minute. I thought you were a seller. What are you doing buying? Well, it's because of what Justin did the last two games, even before yesterday. And recognizing that, hey, we've got something with this kid. Let's add to him. Let's give him something else to work with and see how much more he can grow. You know, let's just make sure we haven't hit the ceiling here with this kid. But it was good forecasting on the part of Poles. The Bears have a ton of money to spend in free agency next year. We've talked about it the last few weeks, how they've got over $100 million in freed up cap space to go get players. Well, they looked at the wide receivers that were going to be available in the free agent market and realized that none of them, or at most maybe only one or two of them, was going to be any kind of a difference maker or any kind of a worthy of anything more than a 1 or maybe a 2-year deal with not a lot of guaranteed money behind it. So they said, okay, there's not going to be a receiver that we want to go throw a lot of money at in free agency. Here's another way we can shore up that position. Claypool's under contract through the end of next season. So they've got, hopefully 26 games where they'll get to see just what he is and how he fits in with Justin. We didn't see a ton of Claypool yesterday. I think his snap count was around 15. It'll be exciting to see what more he does once he's gotten a little more acclimated with the offense and with the team a little bit more. But this was Poles looking to the future as much as it was to the right now. Another thing he was doing with it, he's throwing money at the offense. The Bears now, this season, are spending more money on offensive players than they are on defensive players. We've heard general managers, we've heard personnel and coaches before in Chicago with the Bears talk about how we've got to get the offense better, we've got to get the offense better, we've got to get the offense better. We've never really seen them dedicate the money to the offense. Now, you could make the argument that some of that is because they've never really had offensive players to spend money on. But some of it also is they've always been so busy giving defensive players their money. Guys like Khalil Mack, Julius Peppers, Lance Briggs, Brian Urlacher. And not that those guys weren't worthy of big contracts, but there's a salary cap. There's only so much money to go around. And yes, I can hear Cale Henderson from our Sin City show on Tuesday nights. I can hear him in my head saying, "Oh, that's just a number. You're smart organizations. They know how to get around it." Yes, some of them do, but the overwhelming majority of them don't. And the Bears, by and large, have not figured out how to work around that. So when they've been constantly investing money in their defense, it's been at the expense of the offense. And we're starting to see that change. Ryan Poles specifically mentioned last week in his press conference after the trade deadline that he comes from Kansas City and how the offense can never have enough weapons. You can never have too many weapons around your quarterback. I think we're starting to see a philosophical shift in the way the Bears are going to be doing business. We saw it a month ago during the mini bye where the coaching staff sat down with the players and got their input on how to make the offense better. And the offense has been amazing the last 3 weeks, despite all the limitations. Averaging over 30 points a game the last 3 weeks. It looks like Ryan Poles is going to be stepping up in this regard too. I feel like we're at the very beginning of witnessing the Bears truly getting serious about improving the offense and joining the modern NFL and putting dollars behind the offense, not just lip service and, well, if we draft really smart and if we get really creative with this, that, or no. It's an easy solution. When you're making your salary cap budget, make sure that more dollars are going towards the offense than going towards the defense. It sounds really simple, and I'm sure it's an oversimplification, but it will hopefully make a difference. It should make a difference going forward. So this was a very interesting trade deadline, and I think that there's exciting things to come for this organization. I really do. We're going to take one more break, and then when we come back, the Bulls are just about to tip off over at United Center. They're playing the second end of a back-to-back with the Toronto Raptors, so we will check in on that a little bit and give you a little bit of a preview of that game, a synopsis of last night's loss across the border in Toronto. You're listening to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and sinners. Hello, sports fans around the world. Hello, IE Sports family. This is Cale Henderson, the host of IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. If you folks are interested in sports in the Vegas area, if you're wanting to have a blast for 1 hour, every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, this is a show built for the Vegas sports fans, where we feature the Las Vegas Raiders, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Las Vegas Aces, and the University of Las Vegas, Nevada Rebels. Hopefully, fingers crossed, MLB team coming soon. Either way, if you folks are looking to have a blast for 1 hour each and every week, tune in Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you folks are interested in Vegas sports news, go to our Twitter, at SinCities_IESR. And you can speak with me, the host, Cale Henderson, at Cale_Henderson on Twitter. At any time, be happy to reply. Always willing to reach out to our fans. Again, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Are you a fan of Buffalo sports? Are you thinking of changing loyalties and becoming a Buffalo sports fan? Do you even know where Buffalo is on the map? Did you know Canada is closer to Buffalo than New York City? Welcome to the Buffalo Huddle, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Patty Bax. This is a podcast designed for you, the passionate sports fan. I know you love your sports. Who doesn't? I cover Buffalo sports and so much more by bringing in the human elements. I call it Buffalo Sports with a Twist. Join me as we take a journey into the world of Buffalo sports. I guarantee you'll fall in love with Buffalo just like I did. Each week we start with an inspiration, question of the day, a Buffalo fun fact, and our weekly challenge to you, the listener. Come huddle up with me every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time for the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. As we say in Buffalo, go Bills!
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy white tea. We are coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with us here on this Monday evening. Yes, indeed, Mike. Gotta love Monday nights. Absolutely. Always so much going on and lots to talk about and have some fun with. So, after spending the first 50-odd minutes of the show doing nothing but gushing over the Bears, we're going to not do that for the final 10 minutes. Believe me, I could, but we're going to not do that for the final 10 minutes. We're going to talk about the Bulls. The Bulls and Raptors just tipped off. They are just underway at United Center tonight, playing the second end of a home-and-home with the Toronto Raptors, currently with 9 minutes and change left to go in the first quarter. Toronto is up 8-2. Gushing, maybe putting it mildly. I tried to rein it in as much as I could, Mike. Believe me, I tried to rein it in, but I also recognize that, there's only so much the broom can do against a tide. So for the Bulls, this is the second end of a back-to-back with Toronto. Last night, they were in Toronto playing, and the Raptors got the better end of it, 113-104. Little frustrating for the Bulls. Yes, they were without Zach LaVine, as has been basically the custom here for the first month or so of the season, that Zach only plays in one game of a back-to-back. Is he still recovering from a knee procedure? They don't want to put too much on him too quickly. Still, Toronto was without its leading scorer, Pascal Siakam, and still they lost. The Bulls lost. It's just a weird start to the year for the Bulls. Of course, obviously they're missing Lonzo. They're going to continue to miss Lonzo. It feels a little bit like DeMar DeRozan has come back down to earth a little bit. He only had 9 shot attempts last night. Teams are with Lonzo out indefinitely and Zach obviously not at 100%. Teams are focusing all their efforts on making sure DeMar DeRozan doesn't beat them. And it's working so far. It's very much working. Hence why the Bulls are 5-6 so far through the season. And I'll address that. I'll address that last comment here in a minute. But it feels like I was hoping to see a little bit more from the Bulls to try and take that next step. We're seeing some sparks of it here and there, but nothing consistent nothing consistent right out of the gate. And and as we're checking in on the score right now, 8-2 with 8 minutes and change now left in it. Patrick Williams, he's the only Bull that has scored to this point very early in the first quarter. He's somebody that needs to step up, needs to recognize that, hey, there's a little bit of a void here. There's a little bit of a need for some scoring, for somebody else to move in, and he's not quite doing that yet. He's done it a little bit. He needs to do some more of that as we get into this. Ayo Dosunmu, be interesting to see what more can happen with him. But as we get into tonight's game, it's been a rough start for the Bulls. And now, with Zach available tonight, hopefully they'll be able to get back to 500 and start a little bit of a run here. They've got some games against the Pelicans and the Magic coming up that can help, but we want to see a little bit more from them, and hopefully that can start tonight and go on a little bit of a run. my mom is in the chat. I have a Fields jersey, a Fields t-shirt, and I was gifted a Soldier Fields Dan Patrick shirt. Actually, believe it or not, I'm just in my regular old work clothes tonight for the show. I'm just wearing a button-down shirt and a button-down work shirt tonight. So I'm not actually wearing any bear wear tonight. It is red though, so it is going with a Bulls Blackhawks theme here tonight for them. And as for yesterday, actually we're doing a lot of work outside yesterday. So I was just in one of my oldest Bears t-shirts and a Bears zip-up hoodie. So actually, I was not wearing any of my Fields stuff yesterday. The jersey, though, is definitely going to be making some more appearances these next few weeks. I was staying away from the jersey while they were on the road so much. My Fields jersey is a home jersey, and yesterday was the first time they actually wore their traditional, regular, normal navy blue home jerseys since the season opener. You know, they've been wearing all the alternative stuff or just straight up been on the road all the time since then. So the jersey will be making a little bit of an appearance as we get into some more regular home games in here. But yeah, I saw that. I had to chuckle from that and then clue everybody in on it. So, but hopefully the Bulls can pick this up. They're now 13-6. Need to get a little bit more going here offensively from the Bulls, and of course defensively need to pick up the pace a little bit more as well. Hopefully we'll have some good wins to talk about with them here in next week's show. But that is going to do it for our show here tonight. So big thank you, of course, to Larry B for everything he does here at IE Sports Radio. He jumped on with an unexpected, unplanned segment of the Defining Moment Sunday morning that was nice to catch up on and get caught up there with him a little bit on that. Thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. Again, Bay Area Raised, MLO's Great, Key to the Gate, and Anonymous. Go to our website, iesportsradio.com. There's a link there to our Patreon page. It really does help. It helps out a lot, especially with some of the extra live calls and things like that the network and the station is starting to do. So thank you again to our Patreon supporters. Thank you to Mike for hanging out with me in the chat. Thank you to my mother for chiming in at the last second and derailing me there at the end. Finally, thank you for listening. Whether you've been with me all the way since episode 1, or if tonight was your very first time tuning in, thank you for making me a part of your sports week. I know that you've got a lot of options out there. I am very grateful that you found time to fit me in and include me in that. Please come back. Keep having some fun. Let's keep this rolling. I really do appreciate it. I will be back on tomorrow night doing the Neutral Zone. I will be flying solo doing that. Zach Puplis, my regular co-host, he is going to have the night off tomorrow night, so it's going to be just me doing the Neutral Zone. We're going to be breaking down all sorts of things happening in the hockey world. We've got a team up for sale. We've got a franchise signing players it has no business signing. We've got guys getting suspended left, right, and center. All kinds of craziness happening in the wide, crazy world of the NHL. So tune in tomorrow night, 8 o'clock Central, and you can catch me there. Until then, I will see you. Otherwise, I will see you next week, right here next Monday. Hopefully, we're breaking down a Bears win over the Lions. Bear down. We'll see you then.